Hi, everyone. Virtually, my name is Paul Gillmore, and I'm the president of a company called Slick. It's great to be here. The topic that I want to talk to you about today is uptime in the van that won't start. It's 5:47 in the morning. Your best driver, a great employee, hasn't missed a delivery window in 8 months. She's standing in the yard. Her manifest is loaded. Her route is optimized, coffee in hand. She jumps into her van to start her route, and the van doesn't start. That's a really big problem. First and foremost, you have a great employee who's frustrated. That's never good. Her route is going to be missed. The route had 80 stops that had been optimized for her. Those 80 stops are now being redistributed to other drivers who immediately are frustrated because their day is going to be longer. The dispatcher, taking great pride in optimized routes, is now scrambling, redoing work for 20 minutes to get everybody launched. Customers are tracking the packages that were in that van. They're frustrated because they can't tell what's going on. They're picking up the phone, sending emails to the customer service department. The customer service is now frustrated. They can tell something went wrong, all because a van didn't start. And in fact, about 66 of those customers are questioning whether they will ever use the service again, all because of one failure. One van that didn't start. Today, what I would propose to you is that uptime is one of the biggest pain points in fleet operations today. It also is one of the biggest opportunities because the fleet vehicle, there you can see what happened when the van was down. The fleet vehicle is the physical bridge between a brand, a product, and realized revenue. And if that bridge breaks, the business stops. Uptime is not simply an ops issue. It's a customer service issue. It's a brand issue. It's a C-suite issue. So let's dig into it and dig into the actual cost of downtime in the fleet operations space and for the businesses that are our customers. I would propose to you that it's maintenance spend plus unplanned downtime, which really gets into opportunity cost plus customer churn. Here's some actual data for you. 53% of the total shipping cost in e-commerce is the last mile alone. One driver, one vehicle, one package to one doorstep. There's the manufacturing piece. It goes to a warehouse. It goes to long haul freight. It goes to middle mile regional delivery stations. All of that is bulk shipped. The last mile from the localized hub to the customer's doorstep costs 53% of the total cost. Why? One driver, one vehicle, one package to one doorstep, all single points of failure. Digging in a little bit more, 20% of those last mile delivery costs are vehicle maintenance, and that's before unplanned downtime. Vehicle maintenance is a huge category that many people underestimate. Dig a little bit further. Every time there's a failed package to be delivered in the last mile space, the cost is $17.78 per package. The industry failure rate is 5%. For the typical cluster, the independent service provider, the CSP contractors, whatever you call them in the particular space, of about 40, 50, 60, 75 vehicles, their cost of opportunity costs from unplanned downtime, not of maintenance, but of the packages that don't get delivered because vans don't start or are unoperable, is about $200,000 a year. If you calculate uptime and cost in any vertical, you get to a number much greater than what you would just calculate on your own. Uptime is a big issue. Now let's talk about the customer's expectation for our customers, right? It's a pressure cooker out there where the expectations of customers have increased over time, and they're expecting immediacy. They're expecting deliverables that never fail. It's just the world that our customers operate in. 80% of consumers expect same-day delivery as the baseline, not a premium. When Amazon Prime came around in 2006, the Amazon way has become the American way, and our customers, whether they're in the service mile or the last mile, have an expectation placed on them that is sometimes impossible. It's a very difficult task, but we need to understand that if we're going to meet their need. And the loyalty math of consumers is brutal. 84% of consumers won't purchase from a retailer or a service provider again after a single negative experience. Not two, not three, not four, one single negative experience. So for the last mile retailer, when the van doesn't start, it's a big problem for those 80 customers. About 66 of them may never use them again. For the commercial HVAC company, for the plumbing wholesaler, for the food distributor that depends on the van and the technician in the van, one failure becomes a really big deal. And this is something you might not realize, but it just creates a lot of urgency and understanding around uptime. Contractors in the retail last mile space are signing contracts that guarantee 99% uptime. That's what their promise is within their organization, 99% uptime. I don't think they fully understand the challenge and the difficulty of keeping a vehicle up to that level, because we know from data that reactive maintenance delivers 82 to 88% uptime. That's doing a pretty good job. 82 to 88% uptime. Predictive maintenance, 93 to 97% uptime. You're doing everything right, and the data says your vehicles are up 93 to 97% of the time, but the contract requirement is 99% uptime. For us in this space, there is a need, there is a tension, and with tension and problem comes opportunity. We can't simply say, well, that's just the way it is. We have to understand the need, the urgency, and why they feel the way that they feel. It's understandable. In every scenario, in every business that leverages a fleet, the vehicle is the physical manifestation of the customer promise. The vehicle is the physical manifestation of the customer promise. And when you frame it that way, internal to an organization or in a sales process, however you fit into the ecosystem here, you really create a lot of intensity around the concept of uptime. And that's what I'm trying to convey to you today. Let's go back to the driver in the yard, and it's 5:47 in the morning. And let me say something. It's quite a big statement. People should have known. They should. This isn't just a mechanical failure. People should have known. She's standing there today, frustrated, and everybody else is about to get frustrated because somewhere in the maintenance history of the van, there was a data point that went unread. There was a fault code that fired that didn't trigger an alert, or maybe it triggered an alert, but nobody took action. There was a brake wear pattern that was trending wrong for months. Maybe it wasn't inspected. Maybe it was not inspected well. There was an engine temperature that was running hot. The data was there. The data existed, but no one saw it because no one had built the intelligence layer that turns data into action. The feedback loop, that's how we like to call it. The feedback loop was broken. And it partly was broken, maybe because people within the organization were asking the wrong question. When was this vehicle last serviced? That's the wrong question because it reveals a reactive mindset that isn't going to produce the uptime that our customers need and that our customers of our customers expect. There was a study. It was a study of a well-run operation. They ran their operation by the book. It was a calendar-based model. They had 600 vehicles. They did oil changes every 5,000 miles. They did tire rotations on schedule. Brakes were fixed at the right intervals. It was by the book. But when they went back and analyzed the roadside breakdown data, what they found was shocking. 23% of their emergency roadside repairs came from components serviced within the last 2,000 miles. They were serviced on time. They were serviced by the book, yet it still broke down, maybe because it was the wrong question. When is this serviced? A better question is, what is the vehicle telling us about what is about to happen? What is the vehicle telling us about what's about to happen? To answer that question, it requires a completely different system. You have to think differently to fix the issue of the expectation of our customers, the frustration that they feel because of maybe what they signed up for or just the pressure of business and what their consumers demand. And suddenly it's a customer churn issue when the van simply didn't start. They don't care. If we're going to solve this, we have to think differently. And I'm not saying there's just one way to solve this. I know there's a lot of smart people in this room around different aspects of this ecosystem. I'm just making a proposition of a few layers that might get us in the game for the sake of our customers and the sake of the customers of our customers. I would suggest these three distinct layers. The first is the architecture is 3 layers, feedback loops. Can we create and give operators the right feedback loops? I would suggest rhythmic multi-point inspections by qualified mechanics on every vehicle and in a cadence. If you're doing that and that data is looping back to the operator, you probably have a better chance of listening to what is actually happening in the vehicle. I would recommend a feedback loop of telematics alerts from the vehicle's own data, fault codes, sensor codes, thermal anomalies, looped back to the operator. What about a driver issue portal? Now the feedback is flowing back to the operator from people who are operating the vehicle, flagging what they feel before it becomes a fault code, a powerful feedback loop. Lastly, not to minimize the service schedule data, that should be looped back as well. What is due, what has been deferred, and what is drifting. 4 or more streams looping back to operators in rhythm, allowing them to understand what's going on with the vehicle. I would suggest maybe most fleets have some of these inputs. There's probably some who are just flying blind. That's not going to produce the result that they want. And it's much bigger than a maintenance budget. It's a complete brand issue. Most fleets might have some. Rarely do they have all of just these, and almost no one has them talking to each other. But somewhere in these feedback loops, we're empowering operators to do what they need to do to deliver the result for their customers. The second thing that I would recommend, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in the area of systems. The world has changed in the last few months, 6 months, where you can develop software really fast. You can almost speak it into existence to do some of these things. It's incredibly exciting. You got to have a system that allows you to validate the data. You have to be able to triage what you're finding coming back to you, and then you've got to prioritize the resolution of the issues. Endless KPIs. There's nothing wrong with them, but they overwhelm you with data. They're alerts, but there's no system to actually solve. The systems that receive the feedback have to be set up to validate, triage, and prioritize. Organize towards action. So I would recommend feedback loops into systems. And then lastly, you have to resolve and record. You have to be efficient and effective. And most important, We have to understand what the customer, the fleet operator, the business is trying to do. And we have to try to resolve their issues in windows where they don't hurt their ability to meet their customer demand. It's on us to figure that out. We have to be able to resolve and record and resolve their issue in the most efficient way, documented every job, every time. You have to be able to resolve and record. And we know it works. It's just not easy. It's not easy for my organization. It's not easy for any organization. But the truth is, Deloitte did the research. If you can do it this way, the productivity goes up, breakdowns go down, maintenance costs actually goes down. You're investing maybe in technology, and sometimes it's a tough conversation to have with certain people, but maintenance costs actually go down, done right. But it's bigger than that. Customer churn goes down. The brand looks good. There's growth. There's revenue. It's a lot bigger than that. So let me bring this to a close with some actual suggestions. 3 moves that maybe help you make some progress within your organization, or maybe you're selling something out there and maybe this helps validate the power of what you're selling. 3 things that I would recommend for a Monday morning to take action on even what we're talking about here with the value of uptime. You have to measure it. And the measuring of this KPI is this. It's on the screen. The percentage of contracted delivery service windows your vehicles physically met, uptime. The percentage of contracted delivery service windows your vehicles physically met. For us at our company, we call it efficiency score. We're emphasizing for our technicians delivering a service, but our technicians have no shot of delivering a service if the van doesn't work. So in this world, your KPI is measure uptime. Are we consistently delivering service in the windows, and are we meeting our customers' demands? Because it's not an operational budget item. Reframe it. It is a brand issue. You cannot measure, you cannot manage what you do not measure, and people play differently when you know the score. So figure out how to create the KPI for uptime and use it to your advantage. Secondly, pilot predictive. Create the feedback loops. Build the systems to validate, triage, and respond in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're a fleet manager responsible for a business and a brand. You got to get this going so that you can meet demands of your customers and operate in a positive fashion. So pilot predictive, begin to build it, see if you can get the systems working all together. And then lastly, reframe the conversation. Maybe the reframe of this is the real unlock. When you frame uptime as a customer service, customer retention issue, you get the attention of the right people. You change the perspective from a maintenance budget to the opportunity for us to satisfy and meet the needs of our customers. Reframe the conversation. How do we cut maintenance costs, to rather, how do we protect our delivery promise? And if you do that, you'll be more effective. And it actually is the truth behind uptime. The technology exists. The ROI has been documented. What moves the organization is the reframing of the concept of uptime. Let me take you back out to the yard. It's 5:47 in the morning. Your best driver has 80 stops on her manifest, coffee in hand. In this version of the story, your operation has built the intelligence layer that I've been describing. 3 weeks before this morning, the system flagged the anomaly in the van's brake wear sensor. It was not an emergency. It was not a roadside breakdown. Your best employee was not frustrated. The other drivers were not frustrated. Customer service didn't have extra work to do because you found the data trend going in the wrong direction. A technician pulled up on a Tuesday afternoon, pulled the vehicle over. 45 minutes later, the repair was scheduled, budgeted, invisible to the driver. There's no glory in it sometimes, but it's important. Invisible to the dispatcher, invisible to the 80 customers, absolutely invisible, but not invisible to the ones responsible for this action. The van starts, the route runs, the promise to the customers is kept because the feedback loops were built, the systems were in place, they knew, they didn't just know, they took action 3 weeks ago. Someone should have known in this scenario, they did, and the brand and the customers are happy. That's the power of uptime. Fleet uptime is a powerful metric. I hope you'll reframe it for whatever works for your scenario and how you fit into the ecosystem. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And be blessed. And if you want to connect on LinkedIn, Paul Gillmore, happy to connect and be friends with anyone out there in the ecosystem. Thank you so much.